So hi, my name is AJ. I just started my first YouTube channel. This is called the Handyman process. I've been a handyman for about a year now, down in San Antonio area of Texas. And I've benefited a lot from a lot of the other handymen who are putting out videos. If you're a handyman, you're probably used to the main channel, the Handyman channel, Alan Lee's channel. I follow Daryl the Finisher, Bulletproof Handyman, a lot of people putting out a lot of good advice. And the cool thing about handyman business is everybody's doing things a little bit different. You know, Bulletproof is doing mostly property management stuff. Daryl the Finisher is doing a little bit of everything, really skilled, actually really entertaining. The main Handyman channel, really a down-to-earth business guy who's really blown up on YouTube. So he talks a lot about the aspects of the business side of things and bringing in sponsors and whatnot. But I thought I'd focus a little bit on the business process of things because I learned a lot over this last year, and I'd kind of like to share that. And when I talk about business process, I'm talking about the flow from the beginning of setting up your handyman business to so it's set up whether you're a sole proprietor or an LLC, an S corporation, or under the table, which I don't recommend. How do you go about setting that part up? Because that's really the most important thing. Because if you look long term out, where is this going? What am I going to do with the money that I'm making? What can I do as a business? Like a lot of things I didn't know. Like, could I go buy a car or a truck as an LLC, or do I do it as an individual? Things that I didn't know really. That I learned. I've met with CPAs. I've tried several different software products. I probably evolved like a lot of the new guys are evolving. Starting off, I was using notes out of my iPhone. I was using spreadsheets, Google Docs, all sorts of stuff, taking pictures. I was working out of IKEA bags when I first started, and I've since upgraded to Milwaukee pack and all sorts of stuff. And I kind of like to make some videos talking about all those things that I've learned, what's worked best for me. So after setting up the business, the next thing is setting up insurance. Again, I can't stress that enough. It doesn't cost a lot, just especially for a liability policy if you're just a one-man show. So definitely recommend doing that because one screw up at somebody's house, it could just ruin you. So get the business set up, your business structure set up first, then make sure you have insurance in place, and then you start to do the work and the other types of things. So I'm planning to break down videos across those two areas and then talking about walking from how do I attract customers from an advertising marketing perspective. How does that lead to the estimating process? Am I going to people's houses? Am I doing it online? Are we doing video chats? How do we do that? Am I charging for those estimates, or is it free? If the estimate is accepted, then what happens? Well, usually scheduling. That's one of the areas that I struggle with the most just because I have a family, I have a daytime job. So how do I schedule things? When do I schedule things? How do I manage that? I've gone through a bunch of different software products to help facilitate that, and I've ended up in Mark8, which seems to be the handyman standard. So Mark8's been pretty good for me, but Mark8 has its limitations with certain things. So we go from estimating to scheduling to creating a work order to doing the work and getting paid from the work. So talking about all those particular steps. And all along that line, it's very important, and again, most people don't do this when they first start out, is what do I do with the money? Any CPA that you meet with or anybody who's in business will say you got to separate it. You got to have a business bank account, or at least separate it somehow. But I definitely recommend a business bank account to just make your whole life a lot easier. You just keep the money separate and go from there. I don't use credit. I do everything off of debit. So I put money into my business bank account from my own account, which is basically what's known as an owner contribution. I put my owner contribution there to kind of get the working capital started. And then once that started happening, I went out and I bought the supplies for my first couple of jobs, and then I was reimbursed, and I slowly extracted the money that I had put in to get the business started and took it out. So now it's kind of a self-licking ice cream cone, if you will, that it's just a revolving thing. In terms of the banking, I had started off with a federal credit union, which a lot of the folks that I had saw recommended that. So I went with a local bank here. And they were fine, but they didn't really offer the services that I eventually found that I needed and I wanted. So I switched to a bank called Novo, which specializes in business banking. And man, it's been a game changer for me. So I'll talk about the Novo bank account and how to use that. I'll also talk about bookkeeping and what I've learned. I've migrated from spreadsheets. I tried to do bookkeeping in Mark 8, didn't really work out. I switched over to QuickBooks Online. I worked with some bookkeepers. Again, the connections to Mark 8 weren't that great. I found myself just pulling my hair out, not really liking it a whole lot. And I don't make, right now, revenue, I'm 5 to 6 a month, 5,000, 6,000 a month. So I'm not making a ton of money. So I found out that in Novo, I can pretty much do everything I need to do bookkeeping wise in Novo, because it allows me to record all the income, all the expenses. I can categorize things in there, which is really important when it comes to taxes. And then I can also add the receipts. I can add all sorts of stuff in there. So it's been really, really good for me. Then the other piece of that is tracking mileage. I had started off using Mark 8 to track mileage. Not the greatest. I didn't like some of the features in there. I started doing mileage in QuickBooks, which was a pretty good tool, but once I found out I could do most of my bookkeeping in the Novo Bank app, I started looking for other mileage trackers, and I went to what most people are using, which is Mile IQ. And now I like that. I just, every day, at the end of the day, I just kind of swipe, was this a business trip? Was this a personal trip? So I'll talk about those things as well. I'll talk about websites. I built my own website. So how did I do that? How did I do it for free? So I bought my domain name, a little teaser. I bought my domain name, and then I basically set it up using Google Sites. And Google Sites is free, and all I pay is every month I pay $6.99, I think, for the Google domain. So far that's been running great. Been getting a lot of compliments on that. I essentially went out and looked at some other good websites and somewhat copied the styles of them, but put my own spin on it. You know, who am I? What do I do? How do you get in touch with me? And then I have a connection from Mark 8, a form connection from Mark 8 into my website. So if people find me, they click on request an estimate, all the information flows into Mark 8, then I can reach out to them and start from that estimate all the way, hopefully to work order and invoicing. And so far things have been good. I also use Mark 8 to do follow-ups with reviews. So after an invoice is paid, immediately you'll get a text message or an email saying, if you like the service that you receive, please go ahead and leave us a review at all the different places that I'm listed, which currently is Google, Nextdoor, Facebook, and Yelp. Nextdoor and Facebook have been my primary inputs or generation leads, just because there's so many people in the neighborhoods that are looking for a handyman. Then followed by Google. Google's slowly rising thanks to some SEO stuff that I'm doing within Google, search engine optimization stuff that I'm doing within my Google site, and then Yelp. I only really listed on Yelp just so nobody else would list my name on Yelp. But in my opinion, Yelp's a pain in the butt. So that's really where I'm at right now. Again, I mentioned I'm a full-time employee, so I have a day job where I work 7 to usually 4 or so, and then I'm doing jobs because of family commitments. I'm doing jobs usually Wednesdays through Fridays. I have availability, and then all day Saturdays if I'm not doing something with the family, and every once in a while I'll do a Sunday. But that's really me in a nutshell. Again, I'm calling the channel the Handyman Process or Handyman Process to really focus on the process of setting up, running a handyman business, particularly from a part-timer perspective. My long-term goal is to go full-time eventually when I retire. But for right now, we'll keep it part-time. And for all those guys that are out there that are doing the same thing, want to see if it pans out, want to see if it works, I'll share my experiences. You know, what's working for me, what am I doing? Biggest questions I see in some of the handyman Facebook groups is, you know, what do you charge and how do you charge? So I'll explain that. I have a heavy background in cost estimating. I used to figure out the cost of major weapon systems for the Navy, so a lot of experience in figuring out what things are going to be. So when I do jobs, I just kind of fall back on that. So that's the least of my worries, is estimating the costs. It's more about schedule management. Really, that's my number one thing. Is I have more requests than I know what to do with. So how do I schedule that properly? How do I make sure I'm getting clients that are going to pay my rates? And I'll talk about how I come up with my rates and how I charge. But that's really me. So if you're interested in learning this kind of stuff, I appreciate, again, I'm new to YouTube, so I guess I'm supposed to recommend hitting the like button, the subscribe button. If you have certain things you want to see, questions you want to see answered, put them in the comments. I'll figure out how all this stuff works and how to bring that back into the fold. I'll slowly start to add graphics and whatever I have to add to the videos to make them more appealing. But in the meantime, I'll probably be sitting in my garage and my workbenches and all my tools behind me, kind of explaining what's going on, what I'm doing. So I appreciate you. If you're watching this video, I appreciate you, your time, and I look forward to putting out more videos. Thank you.